So we're here at Lumine, we've set some winter goals and we're now going to see how we can effectively make some swing changes. And I'm here with Dan Whittaker, and now Dan, I hear a lot of tour pros talking about processes and outcomes. What are they talking about when they say that?
I think they're trying to just sound pretty intelligent, aren't they? I
what it
mean, what
seems
is that all about? Well, hopefully I can answer this one for you. So the difference is processes is actually what you're doing, so how you're moving and everything that would lead up to what was the outcome of the ball flight. So the winter is going to be all about actually working at the processes, so changing how you move in order to effectively make the change to what the ball flight's doing. Now the big difference is that you have two distinctly different practice sessions. So you have a process session, so that is working at your swing changes, versus just looking at ball flight and then reacting to that ball flight. Now I look at the outcome stuff as very much in the summer, because some days you've just got to go out and play with what you've got, you know, and so we can't really change that, can we? You know, I turn up that day and out of nowhere I'm suddenly, you know, I've got it a little bit push cut. Well, I've just got to blame up the left and play with that all day. But in the winter where we are right now, this is the time to start to make those swing changes. And often when we're making the swing changes, you're looking at a huge difference between what you feel you're doing and the real, and that's where we're going to get to today.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Having a look at it then, the big thing that we need to do is everybody needs to be able to set up a camera when they're practicing, because we've all got a smartphone these days. It's not like we've got to carry a big set of equipment with us. So having that set up is going to be vital. So we've discussed about how you're going to do this. You're going to get yourself one of those little sort of tripods that you can get off Amazon, about 15, 20 quid. And you're going to get that set up every single time, straight through the hand line at hand height and straight down the toe line. So that means that you're going to get the same camera angle every time. That's absolutely vital. That means you're going to be looking at the same stuff from the same angle when you're looking at changing the movement.
Yeah, so I can properly see progress that way.
Absolutely. You know, and I know that we can be limited in terms of like depths and things like this at driving ranges, but if we can try and get this set up whenever we can, this will be vital to making the change, because this will give you the ability to see are you making those swing changes. Now, I like to look at a thing called a feedback loop. So a feedback loop is how you're able to make a swing change and ascertain whether you're making it every single time. So the reason it's a feedback loop is at the top of the loop here is almost, that's your practice swing. So that would be what we're trying to work on over the winter. For you, that's loading that pelvis going back, because we know that you don't finish doing that in the backswing, and the weight tends to get a little bit onto your toes a little bit early as you're coming down. So that's going to be our first bit that we're going to work at. So in the practice swing, you'll put that into it. Then we go into the execution phase, which is hitting the shot. When we hit the shot, that's when you're going to be maybe not going flat out speed, because you're trying to get a feeling for the swing change. So we're not necessarily looking at your 6 iron, oh, I'm hitting it 185 now, or what's the flight like. We're trying to get the feeling of how you're moving, almost being ignoring strike, because if you change your movement, the first thing that's probably going to go is the strike, because your hand-eye coordination will not have caught up with the movement you're making. It's impossible for it to, isn't it? That's never going to be happening. So what we want to do is get that feeling for hitting the shot, okay? And for you then being able to analyze that movement, because this is down to you trying to analyze the movement at the best level you possibly can. So that's obviously execution. Then we go into where you're going to evaluate that movement. So when you're in the evaluation phase, that's where you're going to be able to say, right, maybe even turn around to the camera, occasionally, and say that felt like, and then you can go and review what the feeling was. Now the reason it's a feedback loop is that when you give the evaluation to the camera, the next phase for you is then going to be you going into your next practice swing, and that is an adjustment phase that you move into in that next practice swing. So basically this evaluation, this cycle is ever changing with your feelings, because when you first make a swing change, as you know, it feels horrific, doesn't it?
It feels terrible.
And we only know exaggeration. And we've all been there, haven't we? We go and have that lesson and you get a feeling for something. It feels so ridiculously exaggerated. And then 2 weeks down, oh my God, it don't feel like exaggerated anymore.
Yeah, you think you've done something wrong.
Have I gone back to my old fault? Am I making the change? And then all of a sudden I'm not sure. Whereas if you practice with these feedback loops, that's always evolving with your feeling. And what you're ending up doing is you're going to take ownership of the new movement, and that will then become you. Whereas if you don't use this way of practicing, what ends up happening is all you're ever doing is hitting shots and reacting to the ball flight. You know, I hit a good shot. Oh, that must have felt good. What a great shot. Hit one bad. Oh my God, what happened? And then, but instead, what we want to do is evaluate how you're moving, because how you move influences how the club moves, which influences how the ball's going to move.
So it's just kind of commit to your process, stick with it, and then over time the outcome will sort of sort itself out as a kind of just a byproduct of good work.
Absolutely. Well, what we'll do here now is we've got these 3 shots. Let's work at that now. Let's get a feeling, and let's show our people exactly how this sort of process is going to work in real time for you.
Okay.
So what I want you to do first of all is make those couple of practice swings. Just get that feeling of loading that right heel. You'll feel like you're very much sitting down. You'll feel like that right heel is loaded. Keep the flex in that right knee a little bit longer. There we go, that's great. And that's the key for you, is getting that feeling of how that's squatting into the floor. You probably feel like your spike's almost digging into the mat a little bit.
I feel like I'm going to give way here almost.
Okay, so now that feeling you've had, I want you to try and recreate that with the ball.
Okay.
Now, ignoring the ball flight, how do you feel you did with that, mate?
I feel I did okay. I mean, I think it definitely obviously didn't feel as kind of well done as the practice swing, but I think that's probably normal for this stage of mat. But I gave it a good go, I thought.
So I thought you did a pretty good job there. For me, what happened was the leg straightened a little bit, so we didn't keep the leg as flexed as we could have done in terms of then loading into that pelvis. So what we're going to now do is, I'm obviously the person who's helping you with the evaluation, whereas you'd normally have your camera with it when you're on your own. So now what you'll do is get the feeling of the leg staying a little bit more bent, because that's the one element of it you didn't quite get. So that's that next phase in the practice. So let's have another practice swing now, and then really get a feeling of loading that heel, but at the same time keeping that knee a little. There you go, perfect. And to you, this will feel like that glute's actually lowering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, let's see if I can do it a little better this time.
Now that's the worst strike you've hit all day, isn't it?
Yeah, I felt like it was a wee bit better though. Like
that was the best movement you made. Like,
the
two can't go hand in hand, can they? You moved brilliantly there, but the strike was pretty awful for you. You know, you very rarely missed the centre, do you? What we saw there though is that the two don't match. The strike can't match with the movement at this early stage, but that was the best movement you've made. So everything was really good there. So what you'd want to do is the next practice swing would be just try and get exactly the same feeling as that. And that's how that practice session will evolve. And this is how you will create ownership of these swing changes.
Perfect, thanks Dan.